the prison built to last. There are prisons designed to punish. And then there are prisons designed to endure. Deep in the rural landscape of Louisiana, surrounded by vast stretches of farmland, dense forests, and the winding Mississippi River, stands a prison unlike any other in America. Officially known as the Louisiana State Penitentiary, it is better known by a single name, Angola. For generations, that name has carried a reputation that extends far beyond the prison's fences. To some, Angola represents justice for the nation's most dangerous offenders. To others, it symbolizes the harshest realities of the American prison system. But regardless of perspective, one fact remains impossible to ignore. Few places in the United States have inspired as much fascination, controversy, and fear as Angola prison. At first glance, the prison's sheer size is difficult to comprehend. Covering approximately 18,000 acres, Angola is larger than many American cities. Vast fields stretch toward the horizon. Cattle graze in designated areas. Roads disappear into distant sections of prison property. From above, it resembles an isolated agricultural community. But appearances can be deceptive. Behind the fences, guard towers, and security checkpoints live thousands of incarcerated men, many serving sentences that will never end. For most prisons, release is an eventual possibility. At Angola, release is often not part of the equation. Many of the men who enter its gates are expected to spend the remainder of their lives there. That reality shapes every aspect of the institution. It influences behavior. It influences relationships. And perhaps most significantly, it influences the atmosphere itself. Visitors frequently describe an unusual feeling upon arriving at Angola. The prison sits at the end of a long journey through rural Louisiana. As highways give way to narrow roads and populated areas fade into farmland, the outside world begins to feel increasingly distant. The isolation is not accidental. Nature serves as one of Angola's most effective barriers. 3 sides of the property are bordered by the Mississippi River, creating natural obstacles that historically made escape extraordinarily difficult. For decades, the prison's location reinforced its image as a place removed from ordinary society, a place where time moved differently, a place where the outside world felt far away. But to understand Angola's modern reputation, one must first understand its origins. And those origins are deeply connected to one of the darkest chapters in American history. Long before the prison existed, the land functioned as a plantation. During the 19th century, enslaved laborers worked the fields that now surround prison facilities. Many were brought from regions of Africa, including the area known today as Angola. The plantation eventually adopted that name. When slavery ended, the land changed ownership, but many aspects of the labor system evolved rather than disappeared. Following the Civil War, Louisiana, like several southern states, participated in convict leasing programs. Under these arrangements, incarcerated individuals were often leased to private businesses and landowners. The system became notorious for harsh conditions, minimal oversight, and extensive labor demands. Historians continue to debate the full impact of these programs, but many agree they left a lasting mark on the region's correctional system. Eventually, the state acquired the property and transformed it into a permanent prison facility. Yet even as decades passed, remnants of the old structure remained visible. Agricultural labor continued. Large-scale farming operations expanded. And Angola developed into one of the most recognizable prison farms in the United States. The passage of time brought new buildings, new policies, and new leadership. But the land itself never changed. Its history remained embedded in every field and roadway. By the 20th century, Angola had become known for something beyond its origins: violence, overcrowding, and a reputation for conditions that attracted national scrutiny. Former inmates, correctional officers, journalists, and legal observers frequently described Angola as one of the toughest prisons in America. Stories circulated about assaults, corruption, and an environment where survival required constant awareness. Federal investigations eventually examined conditions inside the prison. Court rulings criticized aspects of its operation. Reforms followed. Administrators introduced new policies. Security procedures evolved. Programs expanded. Yet despite these changes, Angola's reputation persisted. Why? Because brutality is not always measured solely by violence. Sometimes it is measured by permanence. Imagine entering a place where decades stretch endlessly into the future. Imagine knowing that birthdays, holidays, family milestones, and ordinary moments of life will continue without you. For many Angola inmates, that is the reality they confront every day. A prison sentence measured not in years remaining, but in years survived. That distinction matters. In facilities where release is possible, inmates often focus on preparation for life beyond prison walls. At Angola, many know there will be no such transition. The prison becomes not a temporary destination, but a permanent environment, a community, a workplace, a home, and eventually, for some, a final resting place. That permanence creates unique social dynamics. New arrivals quickly learn that respect carries enormous value. Experienced inmates understand the unwritten rules that govern daily life. Relationships form around trust, shared experiences, and survival. Within such an environment, reputation becomes a form of currency. Every interaction matters. Every decision carries consequences. Every day follows routines designed to maintain order among thousands of incarcerated individuals. Before sunrise, housing units begin to stir. Counts are conducted. Meals are served. Work assignments begin. Across the prison grounds, movement follows carefully controlled patterns. For outsiders, these routines may appear repetitive. For inmates, routine often becomes a survival mechanism. Structure provides predictability. Predictability provides stability. And stability can mean the difference between conflict and calm. Yet beneath the routines lies a question that has followed Angola for generations. Can a prison built on such a complicated history ever fully escape its past? The answer depends on who is asked. Supporters point to educational programs, vocational training, faith-based initiatives, and efforts to reduce violence. Critics point to the prison's origins, its life sentence population, and the symbolism of incarcerated labor on former plantation land. Both perspectives continue to shape the national conversation surrounding Angola. And that conversation remains far from settled. Because Angola is more than a prison. It is a reflection of larger debates about punishment, accountability, rehabilitation, and justice. A place where history and modern corrections intersect. A place where thousands of lives unfold behind fences rarely seen by the public. And a place whose reputation has endured for more than a century. But understanding Angola's history is only the beginning. To truly understand why it remains one of the most discussed prisons in America, we must step beyond its origins and examine daily life inside its walls. Because what happens inside Angola is where its story becomes even more complex. For most Americans, prison is something imagined through movies, headlines, or courtroom dramas. A place hidden behind concrete walls. A place separated from ordinary life. But inside Angola, reality is far more complex. The prison never truly sleeps. Even during the quietest hours of the night, officers patrol housing units, security cameras monitor movement, and thousands of men wait for another day that will look remarkably similar to the one before it. Morning begins long before sunrise. Lights switch on abruptly. The day starts not with freedom of choice, but with routine. Count is conducted. Every inmate must be accounted for. Every face checked. Every housing unit verified. Only after officials confirm order does the prison begin to move. Breakfast follows. Hundreds of inmates file into dining areas under supervision. Conversations remain controlled. The atmosphere can appear calm, but beneath the surface exists a constant awareness shared by nearly everyone inside. In Angola, understanding your surroundings is essential. A simple misunderstanding can become a serious problem. A careless decision can carry consequences that extend far beyond a single day. For newcomers, the adjustment can be overwhelming. Many arrive from county jails or other correctional facilities. Some are young. Others are entering prison after lengthy legal battles. Regardless of their background, they quickly discover that Angola operates according to two sets of rules. The first set is written. These are the official regulations established by prison administrators. The second set is unwritten. These rules are learned through observation, experience, and sometimes painful mistakes. Respect is one of the most important concepts inside the prison. Disrespect, whether intentional or accidental, can create tension. Personal space matters. Promises matter. Reputation matters. Men who have spent decades behind bars often understand these realities better than anyone. Within Angola, long-term inmates sometimes occupy influential positions in the prison's social structure. They are often referred to as old heads. These individuals have survived years, sometimes decades, inside one of America's most famous prisons. They understand the rhythms of prison life. They know which situations should be avoided. They know how conflicts develop, and younger inmates frequently seek their guidance. The advice is rarely philosophical. It is practical. Stay out of debt. Keep your area clean. Avoid unnecessary attention. Choose associates carefully. Think before acting. Inside Angola, these lessons can determine whether daily life remains manageable or becomes significantly more difficult. The prison's population is diverse, but social groups naturally emerge. Some inmates align themselves according to shared backgrounds. Others form friendships through work assignments, educational programs, or religious activities. Still others prefer isolation, limiting interactions whenever possible. Each approach carries risks and benefits. Protection often comes through relationships. But relationships can also create obligations. And obligations can create problems. This balance influences nearly every aspect of prison life. Despite its reputation, Angola today is not the chaotic institution it once was. During the mid-20th century, reports of violence and disorder regularly attracted national attention. Federal courts eventually intervened. Administrators implemented reforms. Security measures expanded. Housing systems evolved. Programs were introduced to reduce instability. As a result, official violence rates declined compared to some earlier periods in the prison's history. Yet reducing violence does not eliminate tension. Thousands of men live within a confined environment. Many are serving life sentences. Many know they will never leave. That reality changes human behavior in ways outsiders often struggle to understand. Consider conflict. In ordinary society, disagreements can often be escaped. People move away, change jobs, leave situations behind. Inside Angola, those options rarely exist. The same faces appear day after day. The same housing units. The same routines. The same limited environment. As a result, conflicts can linger. Small disputes may grow over time. Administrators work continuously to prevent such situations from escalating. When violence does occur, response teams move quickly. Housing units may be locked down. Investigations begin. Security procedures intensify. Order is restored as rapidly as possible. But beneath every incident lies a deeper reality. Angola is built upon permanence, and permanence changes how people think. One of the most significant features of daily life is work. For generations, labor has remained central to the prison's operation. Across Angola's vast property, inmates participate in numerous work assignments. Some maintain prison grounds. Others prepare meals. Some repair equipment. Others assist in agricultural operations. Additional programs focus on trades such as carpentry, welding, and maintenance. For many inmates, work provides more than income. It provides structure, a reason to leave housing units, a sense of routine, an opportunity to develop skills. Hours pass differently when occupied by purposeful activity. Without structure, time can feel overwhelming, and nowhere is time more significant than at Angola. Many inmates describe learning to think differently about the future. Outside prison walls, people plan months or years ahead. Inside Angola, survival often becomes more immediate. focus shifts toward today's responsibilities, today's assignment, today's challenges. Tomorrow will arrive soon enough. This approach helps some inmates cope with the psychological weight of long-term incarceration. Others struggle. Mental health remains one of the most significant challenges within correctional systems across the country. At Angola, the issue carries additional complexity because of a large number of aging prisoners. Many inmates have spent decades inside. Health concerns become increasingly common. Chronic illnesses require treatment. Mobility issues become more frequent. Medical facilities play a growing role in daily operations. The prison population is growing older, and with age comes a different kind of challenge. Not survival through physical strength, but survival through endurance. For some inmates, religion provides stability. Faith-based programs have become an important part of Angola's identity. Religious services attract participants from various backgrounds. Inmate ministers provide guidance and counseling. Some prisoners describe faith as the foundation that allows them to continue moving forward despite life sentences. Others pursue educational opportunities. Classrooms offer courses designed to improve literacy, vocational skills, and personal development. While release may never come for many participants, education still offers purpose. It offers progress, and perhaps most importantly, it offers meaning. Yet despite these programs, Angola remains a maximum security prison. Security never disappears. Every movement occurs within established boundaries. Every privilege can be revoked. Every day is governed by rules. The institution's primary responsibility remains maintaining order. That responsibility shapes everything, from housing assignments to work details, from visitation procedures to disciplinary actions. And nowhere is the psychological impact of incarceration more visible than in segregation units. Separated from the larger prison population, inmates assigned to restrictive housing experience a dramatically different reality. Days become quieter. Interactions become limited. Time slows. Former prisoners have often described these environments as mentally exhausting. Without normal social contact, individuals must confront isolation in ways few people outside prison ever experience. Some adapt. Some struggle. For all of Angola's reforms and programs, isolation remains one of the most difficult aspects of incarceration. As the day draws toward evening, activity gradually slows. Work assignments end. Housing units fill once again. Dinner is served. Another count is conducted. The cycle continues. For many inmates, tomorrow will look almost identical to today, and the day after that, and the day after that. This endless repetition forms the foundation of life inside Angola. A world governed by routine. A world shaped by rules, relationships, and survival. But daily life alone does not explain why Angola occupies such a powerful place in America's prison history. To understand that, we must examine the deeper questions surrounding the prison itself, its controversies, its reforms, its aging population, and the debate over whether Angola represents rehabilitation, punishment, or something in between. Those questions lead directly into the most complicated chapter of Angola's story. Morning at Angola does not begin with possibility. It begins with routine. Before the first light touches the Louisiana fields, the prison is already awake. Fluorescent lights snap on inside the housing units. Officers move through the dormitories, conducting count. Thousands of men rise from metal bunks and prepare for another day that will look almost identical to the one before it. For many prisons, routine is part of the process of confinement. At Angola, routine becomes something much larger. It becomes survival. For men serving life without parole, there is no release date to anticipate. No calendar counting down to freedom. No final year to endure before returning home. The future exists only as a continuation of the present. Former inmates have often described learning to divide life into smaller pieces. Not years, not months, hours, breakfast, work assignment, evening count, lights out, then repeat, again and again. For some, this structure creates stability. For others, It becomes a reminder that time is moving forward, while their lives remain suspended inside the same fences. And nowhere is that reality more visible than among Angola's aging population. Many inmates entered Angola as young men. Some arrived in their 20s. Others were teenagers. Decades later, they remain there. Hair turns gray. Bodies weaken. Medical conditions accumulate. The prison now houses one of the largest populations of elderly inmates in the United States. Wheelchairs are common sights inside units originally designed for younger prisoners. Chronic illnesses require constant treatment. Hospital wings operate inside the prison itself because many inmates will never leave long enough to receive care elsewhere. The irony is impossible to ignore. A facility built to contain dangerous offenders has gradually become home to thousands of aging men confronting the same challenges found in nursing homes and hospice centers across America. Except these patients live behind razor wire. As inmates grow older, the definition of survival changes. For younger prisoners, survival may mean avoiding conflict, building alliances, and maintaining status. For older inmates, survival often means managing pain, preserving dignity, and maintaining mental stability. The battles become quieter, but no less significant. One of the most unusual programs inside Angola reflects this transformation. The prison's hospice program. When inmates approach the end of their lives, specially trained prisoner volunteers provide care. They help feed patients. They sit beside hospital beds. They offer companionship during final days when family members may be unable to visit. The program has attracted national attention because it reveals something many people never expect to find inside a maximum security prison: compassion. In a place built around punishment, dying inmates are often cared for by fellow prisoners. Men who once lived according to prison survival rules become caregivers. They hold hands. They read letters. They sit silently through long nights. For some volunteers, the experience becomes deeply personal. Many describe it as one of the few opportunities they have to contribute positively within a system that offers little chance for redemption in the traditional sense. Yet even these moments exist within the boundaries of incarceration. The doors remain locked. The fences remain standing. And when a prisoner dies, the institution continues moving forward. Because Angola never stops. Funerals inside Angola are simple affairs. Attendance is limited. Ceremonies are brief. Then the daily schedule resumes. Work assignments continue. Counts continue. Meals continue. Life inside the prison moves forward exactly as it did before. The institution endures. The individual does not. Perhaps nowhere is Angola's permanence more visible than in its cemetery. Over the decades, countless inmates have been buried on prison property. Earlier graves were sometimes marked only by numbers. Today, markers are more formal. Yet the symbolism remains powerful. Many of the men buried there entered Angola as young adults and never again lived outside prison walls. Their journey followed a closed circle: arrival, confinement, burial, all on the same land. For critics of mass incarceration, the cemetery represents the ultimate consequence of permanent sentencing. For supporters of strict punishment, it reflects accountability for serious crimes. Regardless of perspective, the visual reality is difficult to ignore. The prison was designed to last longer than the lives contained within it. That permanence extends beyond physical structures. It shapes the culture itself. Angola is often described as isolated. Geographically, that description is accurate. The prison sits in a remote region surrounded by vast stretches of farmland and bordered by the Mississippi River. Historically, these natural barriers help prevent escapes. But isolation affects more than geography. It affects relationships. Communication with the outside world is limited. Visits occur under supervision. Phone calls are restricted. Letters become lifelines. Over time, maintaining connections becomes increasingly difficult. Parents pass away. Children become adults. Friends move on. Entire lives unfold beyond the prison gates without the participation of those inside. Many inmates speak of a particular kind of loss. Not the loss of freedom, the loss of relevance. Watching the world change while remaining in the same place creates a psychological burden that few people outside prison fully understand. Technology advances. Cities transform. Generations shift. Yet inside Angola, daily life follows familiar patterns. The outside world keeps moving. The inmate remains behind. For some prisoners, religion becomes a way to navigate this reality. Angola's seminary and faith-based programs have become well known throughout the correctional system. Inmate ministers conduct services, counsel fellow prisoners, and provide support during personal crises. Supporters view these programs as evidence that meaningful change can occur even among individuals serving life sentences. Critics question whether rehabilitation has practical value when release is not expected. But for many inmates, spiritual growth is not about freedom. It is about finding purpose. Purpose inside a place designed around permanence. That search for meaning becomes increasingly important as years become decades. Because one of the most difficult truths about Angola is that it forces inmates to confront a question most people spend their lives avoiding. What happens when tomorrow looks exactly like today, and the day after that, and the year after that? The answer varies from person to person. Some prisoners devote themselves to education. Others focus on work. Some embrace faith. Some withdraw entirely. Many simply adapt. Human beings possess a remarkable ability to normalize even the most extraordinary circumstances. Eventually, routines that once felt unbearable become ordinary. That adaptation helps people survive. But it also illustrates the deeper nature of Angola's reputation. The prison is no longer defined primarily by the violence that once dominated headlines. Today, its reputation comes from something less visible. Time. Time measured not in days served, but in decades endured. Time stretching forward without a clear endpoint. Time becoming the punishment itself. This is why debates surrounding Angola remain so intense. Supporters argue that the prison successfully houses some of the nation's most serious offenders, while maintaining order and reducing violence. Critics argue that the institution symbolizes a system built around permanent incarceration rather than rehabilitation. Both perspectives contain elements of truth. Angola is a place of structure, a place of punishment, a place of labor, a place of faith, a place of isolation, and a place where history continues to shape the present. Its plantation origins remain impossible to separate entirely from its modern identity. Its decades of violence remain part of its legacy. Its solitary confinement controversies remain subjects of debate. Its aging population continues to raise questions about the purpose of life sentences. All of these layers exist simultaneously. Together, they form the story of Angola. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Angola is not what happens inside its fences. It is what the prison represents. A system designed not merely to confine people, but to outlast them. As night settles over the Louisiana farmland, thousands of inmates return to their bunks. Some read beneath dim lights. Some write letters. Some stare quietly toward ceilings they have seen for decades. Outside, the fields stretch into darkness. Inside, another day comes to an end. Tomorrow will begin the same way. The lights will turn on. Count will be conducted. Work assignments will begin. Meals will be served. The routine will continue. For many inmates, it will continue for the rest of their lives. And that is why Angola remains one of the most discussed prisons in America. Not because it is the most violent. Not because it is the most modern. Not because it is the most famous. But because it represents something deeper. A place where history, punishment, and permanence intersect. A place where thousands of men confront the reality that freedom may never return. A place where the passing of time becomes more powerful than any wall or fence. And perhaps that is the question Angola ultimately leaves behind. Not what it says about the prisoners who live there, but what it says about the society that built it, maintains it, and continues to rely on it. Because long after individual inmates are gone, Angola remains silent, enduring, unchanged. A prison where, for many, time itself becomes the final sentence.